I have my resume covered up.
Fantastic.
Great, excellent.
Thank you. Great. All right, Elijah, good morning.
Good morning.
So what I'll do is talk a little bit of how we're going to run this morning. So we'll be together for approximately 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
During this time, we're going to engage in a variety of questions. Some of the questions will be more open-ended questions where we're just looking to get more context around who you are and some of the work experience that you've had thus far. And the other questions will probably be a little bit more scenario-based, or we're going to ask you to demonstrate or talk us through a job-related exercise.
Okay.
Cool?
Yes, sounds great.
Also, in the IRA packet, we also asked all of the students to pre-identify a tech internship role to really walk into this interview and engage from that perspective. Were you able to identify a role?
I wanted to go for networking.
Networking?
Yes.
Excellent.
Fantastic. All right. So we just asked, as you're giving us your responses, really think about like you're really gunning for that interview or that internship spot.
Sounds good.
Great.
Tell me, what were you doing before Year Up? How did you hear about the program and why you decided to join?
So before I was in Europe, I was actually going to community college and working at the same time. So when I heard about Europe, it was through an alumni of Class 14. And the way he said it was, this is a tech program that would be able to help you advance your knowledge in tech, and I know you like tech. So first thing I did was I went onto the website for Europe, and I looked up the videos. I looked on CNN, internet, YouTube, I looked at everything. And the reason I thought this program like this would be good for me is because I saw the kind of community you guys had, and I really thought it would be good. And I also saw how strong you guys were in communication and technology, and I was like, I really like this. It could be able to help me advance.
Why do you want to work in the tech field?
I want to work in the tech field because ever since I was young, I was always interested with tech. I would take apart different pieces of technology and put them back together.
Like what?
One thing was I used to take apart computers with my grandfather. And since he was in tech business, he would show me different little things about him. And so since then, I was just always intrigued by it. And as I grew up, I was trying to be in more tech, but I didn't have the opportunity to be in it. So.
I see, okay.
What was your biggest challenge or growth area during learning and development, and what did you do to overcome this challenge? What specifically will you plan to do? Will you do to plan ahead and ensure that you're set up for success at internship?
In my opinion, one of my biggest growth areas was not going out of my way to learn something new. The way I changed this was actually doing it. I saw that there was many things, and as the program went on, I realized nobody would give me anything. I needed to work for it. And so in this aspect, I went out and I started learning on myself, and I started asking more questions. I started asking my colleagues for help. And I did what was necessary to move forward. In my future, I will advance on this even more and continue to learn. And if there was something I don't know, I fully don't comprehend, I will be asking my colleagues and then asking my manager if necessary.
Excellent. All right, so explain why you'd be a strong candidate for networking.
In networking, you are, from what I saw and what I heard, you connect the code and you make sure everything's connected. I have been doing this a lot. I've been looking at code, and it's something I know I can do. On top of that, I always like to double and triple check hardware and software. So even if it's not a coding problem and it's a hardware problem, I'll be able to look through it and understand that if I put this in correctly or if I make sure that's correctly there, that will be able to make sure the network runs smoothly. And if there is an issue with the network, I know multiple ways to go through and find it, whether it's code or hardware.
Oh, great. Excellent.
I see you have listed Excel on your resume. What have you done with Excel, and what do you know how to do?
On Excel, I have actually put in data, made different formulas, such as an if formula, which is a true or false. Mm-hmm. I've also made charts, and I've made graphs. From this, I was able to make a PowerPoint to my boss. And with this PowerPoint, I showed them, okay, this is the amount of money that was used last year, and this is the month and the days that we used the most money on. In response to this, I also made it more simpler, and I made it to where he understood that if he could cut down that, he would gain much more money than he previously would have.
Nice.
Excellent, okay. So this is gonna be a scenario question.
Okay.
All right. Assuming that you work for a tech company right now, your manager asks you to complete a high-profile project. You have no idea where to start, and you are not trained on the project material that needs to be used. What are you gonna do?
I would actually first start by asking my boss and my colleagues that if they've used any of these processes. If they have, I would ask them just to give me a few tips so I can learn them fast and be able to access this project. On top of that, if there was any information in the project that I did not know, I would ask around and make sure I understood this before I even tried to start that. From there, I would advance in that and make sure I have each piece necessary. And once I do, I will start by finding the basic information I needed for each piece of the project.
What resources would you use? Like, I'm pretty sure like during L&D, there were things that you weren't sure how to do, and the resources weren't fully available at the moment. How did you go about finding those resources?
Depending on the resource, depending on how I advanced.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I would start by asking a colleague just in case.
No, colleagues don't know.
Okay.
Okay. No one knows.
I would go on Google first and find different pieces of information on there. And if necessary, I'd look into it. I would find a book that was teaching you on that, and I would look through there too. If I couldn't find it then I would still go back to Google, but this time I would switch what I was looking for. Instead of looking directly at it, I would look at different pieces that were similar to it. Just like how there are many different types of browsers, I'd look for another piece of information for it.
Share one goal you have set for yourself, and what steps are you taking, or actions that you've taken to reach the goal?
One goal for myself that I set out for myself was being able to do what I wanted to do, professionally or personally. And one way I've set myself up for this was, instead of sitting back and not reading or watching or doing something that would advance myself, I have instead went out and did this. If I needed to go out and I needed to read a book on coding or I needed to read a book on hardware, I have. If I needed to go out and read something on art or on something of another aspect to make sure I could pass something or finish it, I did. On top of this, I've actually also started saving money on the side just in case something came up during a project, and I needed something to make sure I got through the project.
Nice.
All right, excellent. Okay, so this concludes the first part of our interview, and we're going to stop recording now.